Before we get into the main topic of today's video, I would like to share some very cool footage that was picked up only about an hour ago right down the road here in Palm Coast, Florida. Those of you who watched the two videos that I posted on Thanksgiving Day are aware that in our little town, we have one, possibly two, adult bobcats that are roaming around completely with no fear of human beings. Now, I have this set at a quarter speed, and I'm going to have to adjust the camera real quick to show you what this cat is actually doing. Now, it starts up here at the end of the driveway. Watch closely. This big cat, well, big for a bobcat anyway, comes jogging up the driveway right toward the front door. But down in the lower left, that's the key. It shows you what these cats are doing. And this is the first time this has been picked up. Now, as it gets closer here, you'll see exactly how big this thing is. We'll stop it right there. As you can see, this is no house cat. Now pay attention very closely to the lower left. The cat comes up to the front door and then turns. And it goes in behind the landscaping. You can barely see it lower left. See, it's not the house that the cat is interested in. It's using the house as cover to move from one wooded area to the next. If you look off in the distance, you'll see a larger wooded area behind this house, and then there's a fence. I'm believing these cats are basically using the fences and the wooded areas just basically as thoroughfares. And in this particular case, there was an open area that had to be crossed, and it made the fastest line it could across the open area. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Now, this video was taken in this section of Palm Coast right here, and it's one of the things that makes our little city kind of unique, is that unlike most cities that are just solid houses without any breaks, most of Palm Coast is broken up by trees. Now you see here this big area that was cleared. This is the area that footage was taken in. Now this was cleared back in 2015. A long time ago. This is a housing complex right now, but you see all these spots where there's wood and cover? Plus we have water canals everywhere. Let me zoom out a little better so you can see this. Water canals everywhere and large stands and patches of trees. Now, I don't think, of course, this is 95 right here. This cat will be able to get across 95, but over here, there's a giant, giant park. And Florida bobcats are a little bit different than other bobcats. This was only a few years ago. They caught footage of a bobcat that went into the surf and pulled out a shark. Yeah, no lie. And here is another one of a bobcat on top of somebody's pool enclosure chasing a squirrel. So they're pretty athletic, but I didn't want to waste a whole lot of your time with this. I just thought it was very cool. It kind of goes to show that they're really not afraid in the sense that they're well fed. I don't think anybody's kids have anything to fear. Perhaps a pet, maybe if it was a target of opportunity, so to speak, but they're not running out of game. They're not running out of prey. So when they're captured like this on the Ring Doorbell Network, I've never heard of there being any violence. So, but, oh, I forgot I brought this up too as well, just to show you guys what basically a bobcat looks like and how you can distinguish it from other cats like lynxes or mountain lions. But who remembers from way back in 2000, I believe it was 6, the CBS series Jericho that mysteriously got canceled after only 2 seasons. You see, it actually got canceled after the first season. But then there was this huge fan outcry, and they brought it back for another one, but then they re-canceled it again. You see, in light of modern events, looking back now at some of these series, you start to see what the real threat is. See, people believe, well, gosh, if I'm not trained enough with my ballistic weapon, or if I haven't stockpiled enough of this, that, or the other, that'll be the real threat. I'll run out of this, or I'll not be able to. That's not the real threat. The real threat is the other people in the group, the people right down the road. And when the secrets start to come out, and that's what's really going to happen, if there were ever a shit hits the fan event larger than the one we just went through, secrets would start to come out. Because when you band up in survival groups, it's hard to keep secrets. It's the reason I included the picture in the lower right. Many people forget this little plot device they had where one of the main characters, who is the super good, supposable leader of the group, was actually having an affair with a bartender while married to a woman at home. And as we remember back in The Walking Dead, there was all sorts of interplay that caused all sorts of problems. That is the real threat. While people are stockpiling and going out and wasting ammo with tin cans and hay bales, they're not really working on what the problem's going to be. You can find 1,000 images just like this on the internet about what you should have, the things that you should lay up, the treasures on earth, so to speak, for yourself, and what will help you get through the quote-unquote zombie apocalypse. And even the skills they talk about of the people that you should have in your group. But boy, oh boy, people are people. And right now in this country, what are we seeing? We have one group that thinks another group, based on a certain choice, is some threat to their survival, some threat to their happiness because they haven't made a certain medical choice. And they're talking about how many different ways they can make their life difficult. See, it's not the dried beans, and it's not really the bullets. It's the people. It's the people. And when we see stuff like this, machine gun fire turns upscale Chicago neighborhood into war zone over and over and over again, what's this all about in these cities? It's about pride. It's about people. It's about things they think they're entitled to. And that's going to be the real big question. Because I believe it's in Luke that Jesus says, that you're not supposed to lay up for yourselves treasure on earth, because there's a parable about a man who has certain barns and he's blessed and he runs out of room and he builds bigger barns instead of giving more to the poor, giving what he doesn't need. And I found some of these old maps. People have said, Florida Maquis, why do you pick on the other states so much, and why do you talk about Florida so much? Because for so long, people thought, well, gosh, if there's ever going to be a division in this country and things fall apart, what are things going to look like? Well, this is what they created. Everything from New Mexico to Florida, they called the Texas Republic. And then there's this one, too. This is actually Jericho, America. It shows all of the bombs and how things would play out. The free state of Missouri, the Republic of Arkansas, the independent Republic of Texas. But of course, Florida is a UN occupation zone. Well, what do we see now? What do we see now? After shit hits the fan. The freest state in the Union, the most unoccupied state in the Union, is Florida. And some of the states right through here that they call themselves free, and especially Arkansas with Asa Hutchinson. I know these are just mythical maps, but it does tell you the thinking. It does speak to the thinking. Because things are about to get rearranged in the world. They really are. And different countries and different places are going to come to power. And I've talked about Brazil before, but imagine living in a country that was the number one exporter of food products like soybeans and beef and chicken, number one exporter in the world, and going without and being hungry. Brazil, for all real intents and purposes, is completely self-sufficient and has almost a never-ending supply of natural resources. So there should be absolutely no excuse. And even the leader of Brazil has had to retreat on some things and recognize that the people need security when they have it to do for themselves, and profit shouldn't enter into it. This is an article from Bloomberg, 28 November 2021. Brace yourself, Brazil is about to rock markets. President Jair Bolsonaro's remarkable political reversal on welfare will be felt in soybeans, beef, chicken, and even coffee. See, he's had to read the writing on the wall about quote-unquote evil, terrible, horrible socialism. You might think the most important factors driving commodity markets right now are the speed at which the U.S. Federal Reserve unwinds stimulus, the state of China's real estate industry, or geopolitical jostling within OPEC. Don't rule out the significance of Brazilian welfare payments. Brazil's currency, the real, has been trading around record lows in recent months, thanks largely to the president's efforts to tear up a fiscal straitjacket and introduce an anti-poverty program ahead of the elections in 2022. Laws that will allow the passage of the message, a reboot of the Bolsa Familia cash welfare payment introduced by his predecessor, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, that Bolsonaro wants to raise to around 400 reais, $71 a month. It's already cleared their lower house. You see, it's worked other places because it's built on the premise that the resources of the nation, and I've talked about this in relation to Venezuela before, and it also applies to survival groups. And that's the tie-in here. Whether it's a nation or whether it's a survival group, wouldn't you split the resources evenly? You see, capitalism and self-interest, if it has no place in your survival group, why would it have a place in your life beyond? If it makes no sense during a survival time, during a shit-it's-the-fan time, to pick winners and losers, why would it make sense any other time? You see, that's kind of a hard thing for people to wrap their mind around. In the wealthiest nations in the world, there are people that are doing without, and then people that are saying, well, that's because of their choices. You see, Mexico has a program like this. Venezuela has a program like this. We're probably the only nation in the world that doesn't have a real program that states unequivocally the resources of our nation inherently belong to the people first. And I don't know how you make any other moral justification that profit should rise above that consideration. Because it's kind of a tough thing to put together. It really is. The two ideas. That my survival group will be super socialist, but not my normal life. See, I'll have everybody who has their own skills. Like an elite zombie survival team here. Runner, chef, army guy, nurse. No matter what you're contributing, if you're contributing, you are an equal part of the group. You are valued equally. Even the elderly. Even those whose, contribution is between the ears, so to speak. Patriot Nerds talks about getting trained. So many on YouTube have talked about ballistics. So many have talked about how to store and can and create food and how to stay in shape and how to be somebody who in an elite zombie survival team or in a shit-it's-the-fan situation can be a contributing member of the group. Meaning all of them have an equal place, but yet not in society. when there isn't a shit it's the fan situation. Go back and watch these series and see what the real problem is. It's not a lack of guns. It's not a lack of ammunition. It's not the zombies. It's not even the evil, terrible, horrible government. It's the people within the group. It's the people within the group. And their inability to adapt and their secrets. And that's the reality. That's what I was going to focus on in today's video. And in that same scripture in Luke, the one I'm trying to think of here, I believe that Jesus references ravens, sparrows, and lilies, and how we are not to give thought to what we are to eat tomorrow. We are not to give thought to what we're to say if we are taken into custody by the authorities. And I look back at this bobcat and how it's been able to adapt. More houses are built, more open areas are created, less wooded areas, and yet it still finds a way. It still finds a way to make it in life. And the reason I brought up this image is I wanted to share something about where this was. Now, do you see this large dirt area right here? See, this is a picture from way back in 15. See, this is all houses right now. But the video that I showed you, this one, of the cat, was only about an hour ago. Now, this cat was probably only a cub at that time when they were tearing all that apart. Yet, even through the tearing down of houses and all of the people moving here, the cat has thrived. So, and as you can see, I brought this up with Google Earth Pro. This is a picture, same area, 2016, and this is the area now. There's a big lake. They didn't, of course, leave as many trees between all of this, but this is a housing community. They got the one swimming pool. But once again, you can see there are ways to get through if you want to. So I'll leave it there. That was the big message for today, is that sometimes the things that we think are the big deal aren't the big deal. And we need to focus on other things. And it's really going to boil down to people. Have the right ones around you. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. Have a great week, and we will see you guys later.